Salutations, greetings. Today I have uncovered a truly interesting piece of shit that is going down in just a wild headline to take, even considering the person that it is about, right? And that person is Lucas Hernandez. And if you don't know who Lucas Hernandez is, French defender, he's one of those guys that just seems to randomly spawn in at another big club over the course of time. He's been at Bayern Munich, he's been at Atletico Madrid, now he's at PSG, right? He's just one of those guys where he's not thought of as maybe the best player at his position, but he's clearly world class and able to play on a lot of the biggest teams, and he just exists, right? And while he existed, he's been convicted of domestic assault in 2017 and like some sort of wild brawl with his girlfriend at the time that is now his wife. It's worth mentioning that she was also charged with certain crimes relating to that incident, but, you know, being convicted of domestic assault is being convicted of domestic assault or abuse or whatever the actual wording is. Then that played out until 2021, where I found this article from 2021 where he was put 6 months in prison for violating the restraining order around his conviction for domestic violence against his wife. Considering she was his girlfriend at the time, and this article refers to her as his wife, I'm pretty sure he's violating that restraining order. They then ended up with a multi-year suspended prison sentence and a fine. And, you know, the fine's like 100,000 euros, which for most people would be crippling, but for somebody like Lucas Hernandez, pretty easy to pay. And he just kind of got, like, eventually it just became a thing that washed away, right? People remember it. Like, obviously, it's the first thing I think of when I think of Lucas Hernandez. But his career is plodded along, and now he's at PSG. Even with all that insanity, and Lucas Hernandez is known as this player that is involved in, at the very least, a publicly tumultuous relationship that involves criminal convictions for domestic violence. This headline was still a stunner. This is from Reuters, a very, straightforward news organization. France defender Lucas Hernandez accused of exploiting Colombian family. That's a bizarre headline. Right, now, Reuters is going to pull back. They're going to be a little more reserved with the way they present this information. We turn to The Athletic. Lucas Hernandez denies charges of human trafficking. Like, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. Human trafficking is a step up in the criminal game. I mean, domestic violence, that's one thing, right? That's just, I'm being a shitty human being, anywhere from I can't manage my emotions and keep really toxic people around me to I actively seek violence and express myself through violence or whatever. I'm not here to psychoanalyze Lucas Hernandez or anybody else that's been convicted of domestic violence here. But that's a pretty run-of-the-mill crime, particularly in the world of football. It shouldn't be, it's horrible, but you don't get a lot of footballers that level it up to human trafficking. I mean, this is like I'm playing Schedule 1, and I'm skipping right from, I'm slinging the initial, the OG Kush, and now I'm just cooking the meth instantly, right? Like, I skipped all the steps. This reminds me of Quincy Promes, if you remember the Dutch footballer Quincy Promes, who just all of a sudden got caught up in some sort of RICO-like drug case for trying to smuggle, like, genuinely massive amounts of drugs into the Netherlands and other places. And then I don't even know what ended up happening to him. I think he might be in Russia playing or something. He was caught in one of the Arab states, like one of the Gulf states, and I don't remember what was going on there. He got like some sort of traffic violation, and then he was gonna get he was gonna get repatriated. Who knows where Quincy Promes is? Honestly, don't care enough to find out. But Lucas Hernandez, now, based off these headlines, and this is the headline that's been popping up everywhere, charges of human trafficking have been leveled at Lucas Hernandez and his wife. Worth including her in this too, right? The Paris Saint-Germain defender, Lucas Hernandez, and his wife say they have never acted with a malicious intent or in contempt of the law. What's particularly insane about this story, though, is that even though this is, this jumps off the page, this is not your normal run-of-the-mill weird fucking story. I don't really know what happened here. This is not one of those situations that is a slam dunk, like Lucas Hernandez did something wrong, get him boys type of, this guy's never going to play again, cancel him forever, this is horrible, right? Like, I don't really know what happened here at all. I've read a couple of articles. You read the nice, bland, white toast article from Reuters, which is going to just give you all the basic stuff. You read The Athletic, where they kind of expound these two guys, Nnamdi Onyeguara, who I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name there, and Tom Burrows, who wrote this article. They add a little more flavor, a little more color to these different quotes. But apparently, for the last year, I got to find the actual range, September 2024 to November 2025, there has been a Colombian family. Lucas Hernandez, not Colombian, French, actually. There's been a Colombian family living with them, working for them. There's very little information outside of that is available outside of what the actual charge is being levied and what else, right? There is a large spectrum of what could have happened here. And we're gonna explore that. Okay, because on one end, you've trafficked a Colombian family in to basically take care of your house and take care of your kids and be your security and whatever else. Housekeepers, cooks, nannies, security guards, probably fixing the plumbing. I don't know, right? And you've kind of trapped them through their lack of legal status at your house and trafficked them into France and used them to do all of this stuff. Now, if you make as much money as Lucas Hernandez, to me, and it's very clear given his previous criminal history, Lucas Hernandez. Why was I saying Fernandez? I'm about to burp, but I'm not burping. What is happening to me? Okay, I think I've emotionally recovered. Anyways, he has, even though he's not sound of mind at all times, given that criminal history, it would make a lot of sense that he has plenty of money to be able to hire a nanny, to be able to hire a whatever. Like, why would you kidnap a Colombian family or somehow through happenstance trap a Colombian family at your house in order to have them do all these things? When you make so much money, you can just hire people very cheaply to be able to do those jobs, right? Your freaking gardener, your nanny, a security guard, right? To do all of these things that this family was doing without the risk of, I don't know, human trafficking charges. The other end of the spectrum is that somehow this Colombian family was trying to take advantage of Lucas Hernandez, his family's kindness, basically. That is kind of what the quotes from Lucas Hernandez have to do with generally. Like, they never acted maliciously. Yeah, we helped them, supported them, and believed them when they assured us that they were in the process of regularization of their situation. That trust has been betrayed. Unfortunately, we're not the first to experience a situation like this. Like many others before us, we were manipulated by emotional stories and false assurances. We never acted maliciously, but they add to that. We acted as human beings, then learned painfully that compassion can be exploited. What makes this situation even more trying is to see a gesture of trust and humanity turned into public attacks and accusations. This ordeal has been deeply painful for our family. This matter is now being dealt with through appropriate legal channels where the facts belong. We call for decency, restraint, and respect. To be fair, you have not shown decency, restraint, or respect for the person you are now married to in the past. So, sorry. Is that unfair for me to point out? I just think, the full-blown... I mean, it's not like Lucas Hernandez wrote this. I don't know why we always react like this is some PR guy that wrote this. Lucas Hernandez may or may not have even read it, right? Somebody wrote this. ChatGPT, for all we know, might have wrote this. If he's actually kidnapping Colombians in order to do chores that he could pay people minimum wage to do, then maybe he isn't paying a publicist either. Maybe he's not paying a manager. Maybe he just is paying for a ChatGPT subscription to be able to write this shit. I don't know. Right, but I'm tired of pretending like it's actually them that wrote it, so I'll just leave it there then. I can confirm, and then they confirmed that an investigation is underway and the whole thing, basically. But I don't know how French law works, exactly. The investigation is underway. I don't know what threshold we have to have crossed at this point, and I don't necessarily know why the article is being written now. I think somebody figured out that an investigation was underway, and then they're asking, because then you have this person, Deboutre, I think they're French, answering, I can confirm the investigation's underway. Versailles prosecutor's office is working on it and everything. It is possible, right? Like, this happens to famous people, to famous families, where anytime somebody gets a shot, anytime somebody's kind of in your orbit, there is a danger that they're going to try and come up with a sob story. They're going to try and do this. They're going to try and do that in order to play at your heartstrings, right? In order to make something happen. Now, that something can be maybe they needed a trip over to France, right? They were trying to get into the EU from Colombia for whatever reason, and this was their opportunity. Maybe they saw the lavish lifestyle and the wealth of living there. And honestly, what I see might be the case is it's some sort of combination of both. this is a situation that even though the headline of, Lucas Hernandez, human trafficking, whatever, is incredible, it's probably somewhere in the middle, right? I would imagine that they weren't super, I would imagine that the Hernandez family wasn't, they thought it was maybe fair trade, that they helped provide kind of a sanctuary place and a life of luxury to this family of 5 on their compound for some reason. And they were doing all of these jobs in order to kind of pay for it. And then maybe the family asked for more money and the Hernandezes said no. This is all hypothetical. This is just like a situation I'm working out. And the family, the Colombian family, then goes at it from some sort of legal angle saying we were not here willingly in the first place. And there's no way for Lucas Hernandez and his wife to be able to prove that they were here willingly, or they're going to have to go through a huge legal process with headlines like this in order to prove that, which is damaging to his reputation and his brand and his marketability, which obviously should, as we've covered his previous misdeeds, be pretty heavily damaged already. This should be finishing off whatever's left of that. Then maybe that's what this family was threatening Lucas Hernandez with. There's, of course, the part of the world where Lucas Hernandez has repented and tried to better himself or whatever. I have no idea. He's being a saint. He's looking after this family. And then this family is trying to fully take advantage of him, where they use him to come over. They use his compassion. And when the compassion runs thin, they put together some sort of legal case to try and be able to get French status while also lampooning or extorting Lucas Hernandez. I have no idea, right? All of this shit everywhere in between is within the possibility of what is happening here. What's for sure is that nobody seems to have any idea what actually happened. And this is going to probably be, much to the chagrin of Lucas Hernandez and his now wife, a long investigation that plays out over a long amount of time with a bunch of people. The way the internet works makes this sort of thing really dangerous, just getting a piece of the information. There's going to be a significant portion of the population that never really knows how potentially complex this was, or that there's fully a possible situation here where Lucas Hernandez and his wife didn't really do anything wrong, and they're just like getting this Colombian family's trying to screw them over anyways. But people will just see the headline and go, Lucas Hernandez is trafficking people. Like Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, Lucas Hernandez, right? Like he's running an OnlyFans factory in his basement in Paris, right? Like that's what a certain number of people are going to think, because these headlines have now gotten out. Like once that genie's out of the bottle, then it doesn't come back in. So for years, no matter what happens from this point on, Lucas Hernandez is going to be dealing with this. Kind of right when the whole Lucas Hernandez was a domestic abuser thing started to die down. People were starting to forget that. And then he comes up with the human trafficking thing. I always knew whoever they blacked out on the Epstein files was somebody big. I just didn't know it was a footballer. That was a joke. Before I get sued, that was a joke.